Thank you. Can you please do roll call?
Councilperson Burrell,
Here.
Councilwoman Haas,
Here.
Councilwoman Kidney, President Supervisor Fizzle,
Present.
Councilman Migliorio.
Present. I want to thank everybody for being here today. I want to also give a special thank you to Victoria Madich and Nicole Madich of Mohegan Lake. They've been helping out our EMS throughout the summer, and today was their last day. They were literally a godsend. They knocked on the door of our ambulance building and said, "Hey, how can we help?" There were two pre-med students. They sheltered us all from the dummy that laid out out there and scared everybody as they walked into town hall. But they were really wonderful ladies, and they're both in their senior year of college. They're twin sisters, and they were just such a big help to Chris and to everybody involved in the Highland EMS. So I want to give them a special thanks. And I also want to give a special thanks to Tell Yehuda, because they donated a lot of food to the Yummy Yummy meal program at St. Anthony's and also the St. Anthony's food pantry. So they took a lot of their extra food, at the close of camp and donated it to these food programs. So we want to thank them for always being such a good neighbor in our community and being an exemplary business. We have a lot of correspondence that we've received. I just wanted to point out some highlights. So Fawn Schneider, who is our animal control officer, sent me the following correspondence. So she said, "I have a lot of my own equipment, which I don't mind sharing, but if I could get whatever the rate is that the shelter gets, I believe it's $250 per dog or $200 per dog, that would be great for the ones that don't complain. Most dogs end up going back, thankfully. This is a holding period to give the owner time to claim them, and they would be turned over to the town to adopt out or if not adoptable, to be euthanized. So I would need a kennel of some sorts and some food." So I was thinking, when I have to buy food, which is not very often, depending on when it comes, I would submit receipts for reimbursement. So basically, she's given us a model that she found on Facebook Marketplace to potentially share with the town of Lumberland, because she's the animal collector for both the town of Highland and the town of Lumberland. So I just wanted to open the discussion with the board. The Association of Supervisors of Staff through several meetings where we've talked about the different facilities that people use. The majority of the towns in the county use the Liberty facility. We happen to use the Port Jervis facility just because it's closer and works out a little better. Liberty sometimes is closed out and we have a lot of dogs that can't take anymore. And so we go, these dog catchers do what they do, our animal control officers, but that primarily dogs is their business. They spend a lot of their own personal time and put a lot of heart into taking care of these dogs, and sometimes they're left with no place to take them. And she gets, I think her budget is around $600 a year right now. But I don't know, we would have to dig in a little bit more with Joanne Gerard to see where the money comes from when the dogs go in to the county facilities. When she's talking about the monies, the 200 and 250 for holding the dogs and things. So I feel like this is a bigger conversation. We have to do some research, but I just wanted to open it up to the board for any initial conversation. Anybody like to?
I would wonder about the liability in terms of having strays or found animals in her home. What the noise disturbances would be to her neighbors with an increase of animals. I would also wonder about just risk in terms of does that become a home where people are just driving by and dropping animals? I don't know. That's a lot to open your home to. So I just, would want to see what that would look like. And
I mean, she has that case right now. She basically is feeling that. She's come upon 3 or 4 dogs that she's been trying to adopt out. It's already happening.
Yeah.
Sadly, people are dumping cats. It's not great. Are there any points anybody on board would like to make regarding?
How about just zone her properties? It is not just creating an animal shelter.
No.
Not that I'm against it.
I think it's more than 5 adult dogs. You have to have a kennel permit. And they're regulated by the Department of Health.
So that's something that we have to look at. And what kind of money is you looking for?
The thing she sent me off Marketplace was a $12,000 shed, which is something we couldn't invest in, I would say, this year. We budgeted, like I said, about 6 for food. And it would have to be a shared service with the town of Lumberland because she does do animal control for both. You know, when the information came in, I brought it up to Deputy Supervisor Kidney. And she basically said, what if something happens to Fawn and she's unable to continue her duties as the animal control officer? Where does that leave us with this facility that would basically be built into her property? So I think these are all great things to consider. Since with that information is new, I feel like I need to do some more research and talk to Suzanne from Lumberland. And see what we can accomplish. But I don't think it's a bad program. And I can tell you, like we were talking about the trash. These problems are happening all over the county. I mean, we have this Liberty facility just teeming with dogs. People are coming out, dogs are being euthanized, people are dumping dogs. And it is a big problem. And we've been able to curtail that problem with the use of the Orange County shelter. But I think that that's filling up too, and she's starting to get frustrated. And it is a big job. I mean, these people are left literally with the liability of dogs. So I just want to put all of that out there and let everybody know. I think it's important.
If we have a contract with Port Jervis, they're required to take the dog. They can't refuse.
Pardon?
If we have the contract, the Port Jervis Animal Shelter, they can't refuse to take the dog. That's what the contract is for. So if she's having, it's a contract issue, if they're refusing to honor our arrangement with them for the kennel services, which is what we've had with them. We did go to care for a year, I think, and then went back to Port Jervis.
That's where that problem
Yeah.
was with care or not.
Right, they weren't able to honor the contract because the care doesn't just do the 2 municipalities, they do a number of municipalities, so.
They do 12 all together, yeah, so it's not. Okay, so yeah, let's do some research and we'll put this on the agenda for September meeting. Lori King also shared it's time for her 6-year appointment. We did name her in the reorganization meeting, but I received this today. Here's Supervisor Pixelato and town board members, as you are all aware. All county directors and assessors terms end on September 30th, 2025. Please accept this request to be reappointed to the position of assessor at the town of Highland for the. So she's given us all the proper paperwork. So I'd like to know if I have a motion to appoint Lori King as assessor for another 6-year term. Do I have that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. Congratulations to Lori. Okay, everybody received a copy of our June, July minutes as well as our August workshop minutes. Did everybody get a chance to take a look at those? We have a motion to approve June 2025, July 2025, and August workshop minutes.
Make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions?
Stan,
So moved. I also received some correspondence from Justice LaRufa in his capacity as the president of the ambulance. I'm sure you guys know what's going on. So Captain Wiggins, this is a little troubling to me, but there's basically going to be a biking event that goes over the bridge from 434 up through 55 and through town on the way to Liberty. So I'll just read this so everybody can see. Please note that there will be a fundraising event happening Wednesday and Thursday of this week. There will be approximately 700 bicyclists taking part in the event, which will come through our area on Thursday. The finish line will be at the Monticello Motor Club with a large celebratory gathering. Hatsala EMS will be providing EMS coverage for the majority of the event. However, individual agencies may be dispatched as needed. Please note that some of the limited road closures below, and please share with the crews so that they can exercise caution as well as the potential of bikers on the roadways. So the only reason that this is troubling to me, I don't know if you guys have seen what's going on the corner of 97 and 55 right now, but there's a paving project being done. There's a sublight that we already have a problem with where people are running the lights. Now we have a light that goes directly behind a private business's parking lot, so they can't even add an egress. So now they have 2 egresses on the side that's causing actually a traffic flow program onto the bridge on the 434 with bicycles. Will it be a huge problem in the middle of the day when the cyclists are coming down? Maybe not, but I would have liked to reach out to Sullivan County government and just have them look at maybe what's going on in our roadways along and take construction into consideration. I'm all for benefit clearly, but this is a little troubling to me. And I would just have to respond to it, if anybody has any input that they'd like to include. But just so you guys know, as residents, there will be a bike race zooming through town.
You know, they do it for the past 4 or 3 years.
No, it's, I think it's longer than that.
Yeah, I think this is longer standing, you know, there used to be a bike race that, or bike ride that would go down 97.
Yeah.
That every year, yeah, that comes
And
out.
then now you're doing.
No, yeah, because it's for Kai Lifeline, so it benefits Camp Simcoe, which is in Glen Space. They used to ride from Sussex, New Jersey, across the Hawk's Nest, up into and finish at Glens Bay. This year, because they're expanding the fundraising, they've fundraised like $11 million for the bike ride. Because it supports the programs for the medically at-risk individuals that are supported by Kai Lifeline. So they changed the route to go through Monticello, where they have businesses that are gonna be supporting them along Broadway as well. But Town of Thompson brought it up also at their last meeting because they're not using town roadways. They had notified the state DOT and the counties, but not
Yeah, we
townships.
wouldn't have known about this unless Tony received the notice.
Well, the Sullivan County government posted about it, so did Sullivan 911.
Yeah, as town officials, we didn't receive any official individual notice, and they're very good about noticing everything else. We hear about every single meeting they have, every single public hearing they have. I would have just liked a little bit more notice for safety to take the bigger picture into consideration. So,
Social post for that, like you would put that on their site. So
yes, yeah, I definitely will post this, and please feel free to share it and let your neighbors know too, because it is very precarious.
The hours on there,
Pardon?
hours that they're gonna.
Yeah, I'll post all the hours and information on.
They have a map and the route and the time that they expect to be in each location. It's on Sullivan County 911 and Sullivan County government's post with the press release.
That's good.
Could you share any other correspondence, please?
Newland Fire Department for the month of July, emergency calls, personnel hours 195, drills 127, meetings and trainings 25, miscellaneous 5, total event hours 352. Island Lake Fire Department calls, total man hours 45, drills 69, work nights 67, training classes 0, total of 181 man hours. Highland ambulance service, 33 total calls, 4 canceled, 29 completed at 261 man hours, 1 meeting, 18 man hours, 3 training sessions, 90 man hours for a total of 369 man hours. That's all the correspondence.
Mr. Joe Barnes, do you have anything you'd like to tell the public about our highways and roads?
Sure, okay, since our last meeting, the highway department's been out patching driveway pipes, crossover pipes, Lakeview Drive and Park Road. Patching potholes, Woods Road and Kern Road. Started the second round of roadside mowing. We have paved Collins, Salmon, Schumacher Pond, York Lake, and a section of Dry Brook Road. After the paving, they've been blending the driveway aprons in on the roads. Cleaning up trees on Steggy's and Lakeview during the thunderstorms. They've been hauling millings in the past 2 weeks, that's the regrind off of 97. Mowing grass, courthouse, firehouse, town hall, Eagle Watch, Cape Project. And on the town roads of the bridges, whether they be town bridges or county bridges. And also, still work in progress at the entrance of the senior center. We haven't figured the roller out yet, but we'll get it paid.
I was gonna say, are we gonna take care of your own driveway? That's good.
So, and we actually did a small section of Irish Town Road today, sealing. But we will be starting to seal all the roads I just mentioned and Irish Town.
Great, thank you very much, Joe. Christine Martin, do you have a report on the UDC? I know there's been a lot of activity recently, so we'd love to hear more. This is our UDC rep for the Upper Delaware Council, Christine Martin.
Thank you for having me. I just want to focus on a letter that is actually addressed to the chairperson, Jeffrey Spitz, for the Town of Highland Planning Board. This is a letter from the Delaware Council, Upper Delaware Council, regarding modernization and improvement project, so-called TIMPO, and UDC support for a water quality monitoring station. This letter is dated August 7th. It raises an issue that was submitted in the public comments for FINFO in November. But the individual, the citizen of Highland, brought it to the Upper Delaware Council for support. And that's why I'm bringing it back to the town board for recognition and just getting it to the top of the pile of the many things that have been said about this issue. Dear Chairperson Spitz, in the public comment period of the environmental impact statement process, the above referenced project, several members of the public have called for water quality monitoring in the Upper Delaware River downstream from the project site. This water quality monitoring would begin before project development to establish a baseline and then continue after the project was completed to ensure that the 15 proposed septic systems do not have a negative impact on the water quality of the river. We've been approached by a resident of Highland who's no support for the water quality monitor stage system. And the UDC supports this idea and recommend working with the DRBC, who have, they do monitor water along the river, but in other areas. But they may provide, advice and education about sampling locations, schedule, what pollutants and other parameters to track. We recommend that the cost of this monitoring is fully borne by the applicant and paid maybe through a maintenance bond. This is a letter that is signed by Carrie Engelhardt, the resources and land use specialist for the Upper Delaware Council, and is CC to a bunch of people. So I just want to get that on everybody's radar because I'm not sure who's getting the to see these things. And I also want to say something about water monitoring in general. The DRBC does do water monitoring. However, with the federal funding cuts, there are massive cuts to the EPA in general, and specifically that EPA is what is the federal funding for their water monitoring programs. So that's going to be, challenged already. So this is another kind of support reason for why this might be important at this time. And also even just the USGS has also had significant funding cuts, and we know that the National Weather Services are also getting funding cuts. So there's a time, this may be a unique situation and a novel situation, but it is timely, and I'm glad that I had this moment to present it. Just a couple of other things, general stuff from the Upper Delaware Council. The DRBC is having a meeting on climate change on August 27th. That is available on Zoom, and you can register for that on the DRBC website. And the final thing I'll just say is the TAG grants are due August 22nd.
Thank you,
Christine.
Yes, thank you for bringing that. I do want to say, at the last Association of Supervisors meeting, the 3 presentations, one of those was the Friends of the Upper Delaware River. Full disclosure, I'm Christine's alternate on the Upper Delaware Council. And so I had it at the tip of my tongue. You presented and sent this initially to me. And so I talked to the Delaware River Basin, the FERDR, the Friends of the Upper Delaware River. They're looking to do more projects around 97. They've been focused on other counties in a bigger way. I had objected when I was on the Upper Delaware Scenic Byway that they were getting funding at all because they were mostly doing work in Delaware counties and outside of Sullivan County, but we're getting a huge amount of money given to them. And so we really took them to task in a big way and wrote a lot of letters demanding work be done here. Laura and I met with them last year about a culvert study that they were doing, which didn't amount to a whole lot of work being done, again, in our river corridor or in our river community. So they brought their water specialist to said meeting. We talked about how the Delaware River Basin Commission has so much work, right? Like they're spread out across 5 states, and ending in Trenton, New Jersey. And so they have limited resources in a big way. So they vowed, I think their last funding cycle gave them about 1.2 million. They vowed to send all that money back to Sullivan County. So they're looking for projects, and they said that this would be one that was applicable to that funding source. So I would really love for us to maybe have a meeting with them and talk to them about
This could cost the town absolutely zero if the applicant took responsibility for funding it.
I mean, I 100% agree with you. I'm a little worried about. I'm worried about precedents in general, like with this project, as we step into everything, you know, like obviously it's 4 years in the making. You know, this is a huge project. It deserves all the considerations that we've given it, in my opinion. And I want to commend Jefferson Spitz over there for working so hard and diligently on behalf of the planning board to really vet this project with all due seriousness and respect to the town and to the water and to our environmental quality. I think we'd be remiss not to talk to the Delaware, to the Friends of the Upper Delaware, to see if they could potentially partner with the applicant and start up a mechanism to where we're really getting water monitoring, part of the bigger, deeper considerations as an extension of the secret process at large. I mean, I think that our lifeline is water in our community. It's why we have, 70 to 80% of our industry comes from tourism. If we have a spoiled water system, which happened in the 80s in this region, we had a very triumphant comeback of the Delaware River. It was awarded best river in 2021. And from a lot of waste and a lot of basically.
Well, I think
pollution.
having oversight by someone like the Friends of the Upper Delaware could provide honesty in the reporting.
Yes,
But the funding may also be, to be discussed.
yeah, if we could look for a long-term partnership in the Friends of the Upper Delaware and also the Delaware River Basin Commission, so that there is, like you said, honesty, transparency. It's like if you key somebody to say, okay, point out all the dangerous things about your project, and you're asking the applicant to do something, you might not yield the most transparent results. So I do like the idea of putting other agencies and getting other agencies involved as a potential precursor to the acceptance of all these things in correlation with the river corridor management plan as well.
And just in terms of timing, getting the baseline is going to be important before.
Shovel,
it's-
it's the, exactly. Yes, so please look up our email and we'll get that set up. And thank you, Christine, for your energy and everything you put into the Upper Delaware Council. I know it's a very time extensive task that you do for the town. So thank you very much. Jeff Spitz, could you please give us a report on your new workshop and also process for complaints?
Great, thank you. Just as a reminder to everybody, the planning board's been meeting pretty much every other week to deal with the proposed final environmental impact study of FIMPO. We meet again tomorrow at 6 o'clock. And then at 5 o'clock, right before our planning board meeting on the 27th. And we are getting towards the final stages of our review. But it's a much longer process after we're finished as far as other state and other regulatory agencies will be reviewing. We're continuing to review the process as well. The GDC, National Park Service, DEC, every other letter of the alphabet is also part of the review process. But feel free to come by to the meeting tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Wanted to get feedback just from last meeting here at the town board where you improved the workshop meeting. Initially, we've had some really great responses, so I just want to give that feedback to you. We presented the new workshop process to the town board members and to people in the community who were at the last meeting. A few of the town board members were really pleased about the new process. They felt that it is going to be extremely beneficial to the overall planning board. Not having the information ahead of time, having going through the review from the town engineer, legal, from code office, having that conversation with the applicants in a way that we can sit down with them and just have the conversation about what the project is, look over their information and let them know what either questions that we have or information that is missing. So that then when they do come in front of the planning board, we hopefully avoid unnecessary delays or back and forth or additional information that we caught at that particular time to go from there. So one of the promising pieces was an applicant who actually did come in front of the planning board numerous times, numerous months, and we didn't have this process. And when we laid out the new process, he made a specific point to say that he's familiar with the workshops from other towns that are doing this. And in hearing what our plan was, he was actually very pleased to hear that we were doing that and made a specific comment to say how beneficial we think it was and how much forward that puts our town in providing that. And then we actually had our first workshop meeting on August 5th. We're doing it the first Tuesday of every month with up to 4 applicants that we'll be able to meet with. And we had the applicant there. It was the town engineer, the code supervisor, and myself. Beforehand, we received the applications. We looked over the plans. It gave us enough time to review the material, to look up the codes, to answer questions that we had. And we went through that meeting. It was just a really nice conversation. It was just, we sat, we went over the plans, we looked at the questions that we had to the applicant, and were able to answer questions that they had, and were able to explain the process to them. And also talk to them about what they need to move forward. And being that we're doing it the first week of the month, it's giving the applicant until the 4th Wednesday of the month to now pull all the information together that they need, which they do need to do that. And we were able to give them a specific list of what they needed to do to get the clarification for it. There was legal question. We were able to get our town attorney involved and be able to get clarification on that. And it was great. And so part of this process, it's the new process, it's about quality improvement as well. So we created a new process. And one of the things that I did is I reached out to the applicant and I just asked their opinion in how the meeting went, if they had any feedback, if they had any areas for improvement from their perspective. And I'll quote, they said, in our case, the workshop was very valuable as you spotted some inconsistencies in our plans and walked us through what the planning board wants to see, as well as the kinds of questions that might come up. The recap that the town engineer sent after our call was also useful. We tried to take notes ourselves, but we were mostly focused on making sure we fully understood the process. Your explanations were clear and the processes felt straightforward. Thanks again for your help. So promising, and again, if issues come up, we'll figure that out. We'll continue to do quality improvement on that, but just let me know how we did.
And that's great. And so you're not, in any way, this new option doesn't circumvent like the regular processes, right? Like if somebody has like a residential project or a small business project, they're not pushed to get this workshop unless they want it, because they want to do an extended kind of communications with the board to prepare for the actual meeting. Is that correct?
That's not correct. The actual workshops, with the exception of short-term rentals, will be for everybody so that we do give them the opportunity, or we have the opportunity to actually look over their plans, really look through the information, the application, making sure that they have everything together so that when they do come in front of the full planning board, that they have all the information to present, and that the entire planning board can have that material, can have our discussions, figure out what we need to do, whether it needs to go through public hearing or there's additional information that's needed to bring to the planning board.
So the workshop is mandatory $300 fee. Got it. And are most of these meetings being held on Zoom, I would presume?
We're doing it Zoom. The town engineer is up in Albany. If legal needs somebody involved, they're far away. And the applicants are not always here. So at least the initial one was well received on Zoom. There were no issues with it. We were able to have thorough testing, thanks Laura, to get thorough testing to make sure that we were in place and ready for the Zoom call, and it went without hitch.
Great. And thank you to Councilperson Burrell, who's been filling in for the planning and zoning board secretary. She's been wearing several hats. I don't know, between the two of you, would you like to describe the process that we're working on for dealing with code complaints and where we're at right now? I know we discussed it a little bit during our public hearing earlier, but could you guys touch on that a bit?
Sure. It's not just code complaints. It's starting inquiries and questions at the code enforcement office. And so a part of where we found some hiccups in people appearing before a planning or a zoning board meeting and being less than prepared, requiring multiple meetings, had to do with paperwork, filling out the application, trying to understand exactly what type of survey, whether it needs to be stamped, and with multiple people's points of view and input, you can end up with an application that's too much and costly or not enough and time costly to our volunteer planning board and zoning board, as well as the clerk time, administrative time spent counseling and getting people to the point of a meeting or the finish line of an application approval or denial. So we are funneling most of our things through the applications that are available in the code office. So we like to say that all things will start with code. Getting referred to a workshop meeting, it's helpful to get them into that Zoom meeting requires digital documents, which means that when it does come to expanding it to the board, we can get them the information before it's printed in their mailbox. We can create digital packages. We have a better tracking in terms of what's missing from an application based on the conversation. So they're showing up before a planning board, whether it's public hearing or not, with everything in order and giving our volunteers a lot more information to make their decisions off of. So we are trying to encourage staff in town hall as well as, the public to start with their inquiries if they want to build or add an accessory building. If they're considering buying a property that might be commercial use, there are 2 applications to go through and a meeting before they come to the planning board. And so this is all to help streamline things, to relieve the burden on our volunteers, and to have more information and a higher quality use of everybody's time.
Got it. And so there was an incident where we were getting a consistent complaint for short-term rental, for instance. And it was brought up to the town board members that we weren't doing enough, we weren't acting fast enough, we weren't doing. Councilperson Migliorino gave a very adequate response and something I just want to point out to the public, just so everybody knows. The planning board are made up of volunteers, their appointments, and they do a really damn good job. And as you can hear, they put a lot of their personal time and energy into making this town great and shaping what we want our town to look like. To make sure that people are developing responsibly, to make sure that projects are done safely, that if we're putting up new structures, that we are taking into consideration new codes and rules. And if we're looking at old buildings that we're incentivizing, maybe making improvements on things to make them safer and to make them, function back into the community. So they're doing a wonderful resource. The town board obviously gets paid about 9 cents an hour for their work. We see people like Councilperson Burrell extending tremendous amount of time to make sure that all this is going smoothly. But what we are not is law enforcement. If you have a consistent problem with a short-term rental that's by your house and they're making a lot of noise and they're an inconvenience to you and your life and in your livelihood, call the police. We need to get records of what it is that they're supposedly disrupting your peace and your quality of life. That's everything from noise to, any infraction of the law. We just need a public record of it. What we can do as the code enforcement, who are here 3 days a week, and our code clerk is here 3 days a week, is we can log those complaints. We can set violations. We can send those violators to court. We can give them fines. And then we can, if they are non-responsive to showing up for court and to paying their fines, then we can levy it on their taxes. And we have people that have levied fines daily on their taxes for 3+ years of situations we're dealing with. people who just don't care. They're waiting for the law to kick in, they're gonna do what they're gonna do, but we're still, we don't have the mechanism to go in and bust up their Airbnb and put a padlock on the door and make sure they're not doing it anymore. So as
But we
much as,
do, sorry.
as much as the public, would like us to police situations, we are not under the current makeup, I feel entitled to do these things. I think that we should be relying on our law enforcement. I think it's very rare exceptions where we've gone in where there's been, hazards to public safety, like uncovered well, where we send in our, highway department to go in and fix something. And again, we levy that under their taxes, whatever the materials cost is, it becomes permits and violations. Violations and fines that go on to their tax roll if they won't pay or deal with the situations at hand. So we're trying to do everything we can to create a mechanism. But one of the biggest things that are challenges that this board has faced for the last couple of years is we were not using our systems of record keeping and permitting correctly for several years. So we had an IPS and an IBS system that were not utilized correctly. So when we get a short-term rental that's out of compliance, or maybe the permit is expired, we weren't entering and logging those properly, so we didn't have the notification to say, okay, year's up, the permit's up, it's time for them to come before the planning board anymore. So our current clerk has been backlogging all of the Airbnbs that have been there to try to get up to speed so that our systems can work better for us, so that we can have a digital record of things and have the mechanism so that we're able to see what's going on. We've also imparted extended training for those systems, and we're going to continue to train and reinforce those to make everybody's job a little bit easier. But I personally do not see our role as enforcement. I think we should still rely on law enforcement. But Councilperson Hostin, do you want to share something?
Yeah, so it is our role because we have a law codified for short-term rentals. And at the last planning board, this operation that you're speaking. And they voted 5-0 to not approve the application for the short-term rental.
Right.
So he's continuing to operate, which is a violation of town law, not enforceable by law enforcement, enforceable by this board. So the process, as I understand it, because we've previously had to do this with businesses that were operating not in zone. We had a business that was operating that did not have a permit for a wedding venue in a residential zone. And what we had to do is apply to the Supreme Court, County of Sullivan. We requested a TRO initially because they were, again, operating in violation of the code. We had issued the violations. They had not responded. This property that you're speaking about also has a court order that they are in violation of. And it is our duty as the town board to enforce the laws of the town and the code of the town and to support our volunteer members who have decided that within our planning and zoning, they don't want to allow this to happen. So it's not the law enforcement issue. The noise is a law enforcement issue. Operation of a short-term rental without a permit, after your permit has been denied, you continue to rent, that is a town board issue. Enforcement is our responsibility. We've done that process twice. We did it at 211, we did it at the Floating Farmhouse. They issued the TROs and then eventually a PRO, and the fines were substantial. We negotiated the settlement with the Floating Farmhouse to indicate that they had 10 scheduled events that were on there. We spoke to the neighbor. We set very specific guidelines for those 10 events to occur. There was a fine per event so that they could not lose the wedding, not cancel on those brides and grooms or grooms and grooms or brides and brides. I don't know what the arrangements were. And they were allowed to continue because the town board took action and enforced the law. That is our goal. So noise, yeah, call the cops. Call the cops 5, 10, 15 times. That's a noise ordinance, which is also a code, but you have to have documentation from the sheriff's office. But operating a short-term rental in violation of our volunteer members' hard work in reviewing and denying that application 5-0, I think is 100% our responsibility. So I don't want to shirk that. I want to, it's not because not because it's operating in my neighborhood, which it 100% is, but I'm fairly certain that's why it's being allowed to continue.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Oh, wow, absolutely.
That's a strange.
And we want to get forward and make sure that the violation is taken care of.
Okay, but
And
then
Jeff-
what about the operation outside the code?
And
Because
Jeff Spitz, so you know, with this situation, you're very privy to it, you're very hands-on with it, you guys denied it, you set forth you know, the applicant a certain set of things that he needs to do, we've seen that the applicant has pulled his rental off of said mechanism, you know,
It's
for all
not,
intents and purposes,
he's not pulled it,
Yes, he has. He has pulled his application, he
But
pulled
is
off Airbnb.
is he not renting it? Is he not operating as a short-term rental?
He's just going ahead and renting. So
Yeah, I-
he's gonna pay the price.
That's
It
what,
takes time.
exactly, that's what,
Yeah.
we need to step in and I request the TRO.
We did.
Because otherwise it's gonna be copied over in, but are we proceeding with Supreme Court to request the TRO? Are we filing
I don't
those?
think we're to that point yet, I mean, I think that they were denied in what month were they denied their permit?
Just this last meeting.
So they were just denied their applications for short-term rental, correct?
And they just rented it last weekend.
So.
So they are operating in violation of the short-term rentals law, whether it's once or it was just a month ago.
Want to put forth a motion?
So what do you,
Before the
what
motion?
should we do?
I would like to,
They're putting in handcuffs?
no, I would like to confer with the attorney about the process for,
The attorney has been.
oh, he has been? I wasn't on the notification, so I wouldn't be aware.
We have more than.
I'm sorry?
I'm
Well,
sorry.
did you notify, I'm sorry, did you notify him in a meeting or was it done via email correspondence?
Still to the code office. He filed it on August 6th. yes. So,
No, I'm talking about the process. I would want to defer to the attorney about what the process would be moving forward if someone's operating in violation of the code. And,
Yeah, but this is.
Yeah, language, board hired, Mr. Brian Brewer for these code violations, so,
okay,
unless we need to take it to the Supreme Court level. Either he can come for me and I would ask you, or he would ask you directly for authorization, so.
I do feel like that we are following like the due diligence of the process that's set forth, and I just want to make sure for Jeff Spitz, like you feel like supported in what our actions are in place right now, correct? And for you, Laura, like as the planning and zoning board, but do you feel like that said process is transpiring and we're dealing with that application?
Yeah, based on complaints, violations, court appearances, permit denial. I've been pushing this issue since the first complaint came in, sending code out, making sure they followed up. You know, we escalated it out on the 6th.
On a weekend, had a big, long conversation, contacted the appointments. There's nothing that's been taken lightly or that's at all not being dealt with.
And I just recently got the bottom, so you can bet your bottom dollar instead of being paid with your.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
And I.
Is there anything else that you wanted to add regarding the process or the new processes that are in place?
No, just again, if there's any comments or thoughts, improvement opportunities, always open to that.
Thank you very much again for your work. Appreciate it. Buildings, so you met with Ty.
Yeah, I met with a contractor for the courthouse, he's putting some preliminary budget numbers together for the roofing and the stucco. The bathrooms, everything that we need to get corrected on that building. So hopefully by next meeting, we'll have those numbers and we'll see where we are, where we stand. We're gonna take care of the most important things first, starting from the roof, structural issues, stucco, and the bathrooms.
Yeah.
See what we have left in our grant room.
I do have to correct you. The most important issue is to get rid of the snakes so that we have.
Snakes, yeah.
So we fast tracked our stucco remediation. So that's Ty's kind of like number one directive of something that we're gonna deal with, like, hopefully. Fastest is to get somebody in there that's a mason that can deal with the remediation of the stucco. Because, you know, we have $250,000 in this grant. You know, we've spent about 17 on our architectural services and stucco remediation. Use points, so now we're getting into the hiring phase, but our clerk is kind of at a rope's end because we still do have snakes coming in all the time. You know, this wonderful clerk that we've had has been working in our town for 19 years and this has been an ongoing problem, so we're happy to be dealing with it once and for all. And who knows if we're gonna be able to actualize every single thing we would like to with the courthouse based on our budget, but we are for sure gonna take care of the structural situations that are the roof, the stucco remediation, getting the floor up, getting the water source correctly, and really using that money as smartly as we can. So thank you for all your work on that. I know it's like your wheelhouse of what you do professionally, but we're very grateful that you expend your personal hours to help us.
Thank you. As far as the senior center goes, finishing up the painting. I don't know if anyone's been over there, but it's looking real good. The painting's just about complete. We have a mini split repair this month. The kitchen is finished. In fact, connection inspections.
Yeah, we've passed our inspection, so we have a certified commercial kitchen on the town of Highland, which is very exciting.
Pretty good shape.
Thank you for all your work.
Thank you.
And thank you to Sonia Kidney who went to the health inspection and had to sweat along with her. Thank you for that. Health and Human Services, Linda Kidney's doing much, or sorry, Linda Anderson is doing really wonderful right now. You remember more? Linda Anderson's doing great. She's out of hospital. She's given us her budget for health and human services. And I know Melissa's been doing a little bit of work as well outside of this. So defibrillators sort of fall in this gray area. We don't have any like state requirements for defibrillators, but we're looking out for the public safety. We touched on this a little bit in the workshop. The cost of a new defibrillator is around,
Just looking at between 13 and 1,500. And we need 4 for all 4 buildings. And that's with, able to eat the ones that we have in $500.
right?
And the ambulance has offered to donate one of their old ones to hopefully lower the cost.
So if we get a $500 credit, is that off of the 1,500 to 1,500? Or that's so it's about a $2,000.
Yes, and then if you, it will also depend on how many extra pads you order.
But if you order a great deal of pads, the pads can expire.
Yes,
Right.
so each trust, just order what comes with it, and then we need one, we just order the, ambulance building offered to loan us one if we need to use one in between, because they have the same, they use the same system.
So what does everybody think is logical? Like we found out that Patty doesn't have one in the courthouse. And that's invariable, the most detached from the rest of the buildings. We don't have one that's functioning in town hall. It's fallen out of compliance in the shadow program.
Correct.
We don't have.
We have one, well, we do right now.
We have one also in the senior community
Yes.
center that's aged out of the program, it's no longer working, and then the highway department, we don't.
Theirs is out of code. Yeah,
So that being said, so if we were to purchase 4, that's a huge expense. I would like to recommend that we purchase 2 new defibrillators. I think that we could work on an arrangement with the emergency services building and the ambulance. So that we could potentially use one of theirs in case of emergency. I can't think of the time when somebody from there isn't here, or we could work out something where we have access to that. We all have access to the codes to get into there. I do think it's important to have one in the courthouse. Those heart rates can go up and down depending on what's going on in the court. And they are removed from the center of town. When it comes to the highway department, Joe, do you feel like with your staff, you need a dedicated defibrillator, or would you be willing to share one with the senior and community center?
All buildings should have. This is my advice.
Yes,
I voiced my opinion on this at the workshop, and I feel like every building should have. It's $6,000, but it's a life worth $6,000. All the money we spend in this town. I just can't see why we're nickel and diming something that could save someone's life. I understand the ambulance is right next door, but God forbid that one day nobody's there, something happens here.
Yeah, they're really great, and that's a credit back.
And the senior center needed it, definitely needs it. The courthouse, I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, we've never had one.
But like we, right,
I think we should just go.
well, like I mentioned, at the workshop, as far as splitting the cost, let the highway department pick up the tab for their own. Sorry, Joe.
I was like, what do you think?
We have grant money left from the kitchen, do we have any grant money left from the senior center?
We may.
We may.
So let's take the grant money, and purchase the one for the senior.
We can purchase the one for town, actually, under the
So
same.
we have a grant.
Grant.
The other one, yeah, the other sand grant.
Now we're on the hook for $1,500 for the courthouse. Well, we just on the hook, we could, someone.
If we buy
But that's
in,
my opinion.
if we buy a certain number, is there a discount?
I'm to ask him right now, I've only asked him about 30, I was going to ask him about 4, but I didn't wanna ask until my minute.
Maybe like-
And I could look into renting them and it's the cost.
No.
Yeah.
It's not trust, it's too much upkeep.
Like 3% over a year. right?
Yeah.
Plus the Highland ambulance is gonna run a course for us, if anyone's interested, right?
Yes, they will.
Yeah, that was something that Chris wanted to also let the public.
So he will, we're gonna do a CPR.
It can be people at a time.
That should be on this, it should be strong.
Be great. Councilperson Burrell, Councilperson, Haas, do you have anything else to add?
Mhm.
Councilperson Keeling?
I just, what, anything to add?
Okay, so do I have a motion to purchase 4 defibrillators at an approximate cost of $6,000? And I guess within that motion that we will attempt to utilize and get these passed through Ways and Means to be included into the 2 grant programs that we still have active in.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. Thank you for your input, I appreciate it.
Thank
Oh,
so I hope we never have to use it.
I hope we don't have to use them, but I agree, too, that it is an old expense.
Well, once the lost.
Also, just so everybody knows, we are moving up our emergency services and library public hearings to September 2nd, 2025. We're asking all of our participants in nonprofit contracted companies to provide a 990, and we'll let everybody know about that, but we really want to get it handled and give everybody enough time so that we can really make the public aware and have as much transparency and visibility into our contracts and companies as possible.
Mr. Supervisor,
Yes.
again, sorry, the check. It was brought to my attention last night at the Union Fire Department, which we had discussed previously.
Sure.
That the budget is due on the 31st. I was told that they don't have enough time to actually review the budget, 31st, and then there's a holiday in between. Is it possible we could extend this a couple more days, either September 4th or the 11th? Jerry, you're the president of Lakeland. I don't like.
Yeah, we heard from Jared.
Do you feel
the time?
adequate time to review?
For the public to review the budget,
Right. Well, I mean,
for us to prepare the budget, we're gonna have our budget in by the 31st. We have a meeting set up this Thursday, with a couple more meetings planned by the 31st. I think the underlying question, and this is what I had emailed John about, is the state law calls for a public meeting on the contract. The budget is just one component of the contract. So we're having a public meeting on the budget. Is this going to fulfill the requirement to have a public meeting on the contract? Or is there gonna be another public meeting later? And if this is gonna fulfill that requirement, is the contract gonna be available for the public to review? The budget should be available, and you didn't request a 990 from us, so.
No, that's something we discussed with the lawyer, and we were vetting it with the emergency services through the county and also the Association of Towns. So we've been trying, what the attempt is just to provide more transparency to the public and to give the public further scrutiny of every contract we sign. We want everybody to be able to see it. And in our budget process last year, 4 out of the 5 of us were very new. And we had a lot of noise around these budget meetings while we were just trying to get our feet wet and make sure that we were following all due processes as set forth before the state. So there was there was a lot of, noise, we'll call it noise. While we were just trying to get a handle to make sure we were following set processes.
I think most of the noise
so
was
what-
around the attempts to reduce the budgets to one fire.
Which was not.
Let's be honest.
Not one of the attempts.
Let's be honest.
But that
But
being said,
let's go back to my question. Will the contracts, the budget's just one part of the contract. And the state law, section 184 New York State law, require, and yes, I did Google it, Google's a wonderful thing, it should be able to Google. Requires the town to have a public meeting on the contract. So submitting the budget, we haven't seen the contract yet, submitting the budget by the 31st. Then you're gonna review a contract of which the budget is only a part.
So this is a budget meeting, so that we're talking about having a budget meeting, so there, if necessary, we still will have the time to do a public hearing on the contract as well.
Well, it's not necessarily required to do that. That's what you're required. You're not required.
Oh, exactly, so what we're doing is putting extra measures in there so that everybody can see
Okay.
the contract that
We
we're
were signing
signing.
the second public meeting before the contract was signed.
Potentially, I mean, we're also, we're not closing the door that everything could be done at the budget meetings, like if people have questions. We really want to involve the public in the process, and also now that we have our feet wet and know what it looks like, it gives us time to say, okay, we need another meeting, we need another follow-up. The library put it in another floor, are we gonna pay for the floor? Could we have approached it differently? Could we talk about it? Could we pool resources? These are the kind of conversations we want to have when we talk about budget, because it also prepares us to know what the pitfalls and potential areas are of where we need to look for grant funds, where we need to look, where we can all team up together, because there's so much crossover. And I do feel like that we're underutilizing like federal and state grant programs while they're still there. That we could be using shared services, your department is particularly great at getting grants and has gotten state-of-the-art equipment, we look at what. Just happened with the Uland Fire Department and they're purchasing of the drones through grant resources. We want to commend things like that happening in a bigger way. But we also want to have all the information for how we can look at it, because we are charged with being the fiduciary oversight of everybody that we're contracting with. And we want to make sure all those funds are being utilized properly. And it's across the board, like I said, you guys are doing an exemplary job with your fundraising, and you get a significantly less amount than the other departments if you make the most out of it. So we really would love to share that sentiment amongst the departments in general. So yeah, so we are going to be meeting on the budgets on the September 2nd, and we do need to have further meetings. We'll go ahead and do that
So the budget will be on the second, and then there'll be another date for the contract.
if needed. Yeah, as needed.
Well, there will have to be.
We do need it.
There will have to be.
Yeah.
So then when will the contracts be available for the fire department and the contract used to review?
That would be the.
That's why I'm asking Javed.
Oh, I mean, you're gonna ask for the purpose of having the meetings on the budget is to ultimately negotiate price or at least confirm the price for the contract, right? When would you expect, when would you want to be able to have a contract presented?
I mean, if, I don't see any earth shattering changes happening between the contracts, but we also need to vet. Like income that's coming in, what the fiduciary responsibility is between the town and said companies that we're contracting with. And also last year we were to a point where we were having this public hearing where we couldn't really ask questions, or there was we had no oversight of the contract. It was either sign it or don't, you can't ask questions. And I think that the public deserves more than that. I think that we deserve time and space where we can ask questions and provide examples and really work together as a community, because, I didn't know until recently, I saw this wonderful article come out about, agriculture in Sullivan County, and it was written by a resident in Eldred. And she's a wonderful writer, and it seemed like she had a really great handle on said information. I contracted her, now she's our grant writer for our community, and she's doing it way under rate of that we could ever get. But it's those sort of relationships and alliances that I feel like as a small town, we need to look at as much as possible. So if we can get some other resources knocked out, like why not? Like let's extend the process and bring as many people into it as possible.
Where would the grants be in the budget or the contract? You're gonna put a grant requirement into the contract, or the budget is just the money?
All stated.
Well, but then I don't understand the connection between like opening up, like the budget is gonna be what they're anticipating to spend of the money that the town is providing, not all that they're fundraising or their other components of it. So the grants that people are getting, like Highland Lake or Ewan, wouldn't be reflected in the budget or the contract.
But
So,
it's the opportunity to have a public dialogue.
Celebrate it.
That's what those budget meetings are about.
but no, they're about the budgets. They're about the content of the budgets, which people are gonna have 5 hours to review because the Monday's a holiday. And then the Tuesday evening is the public hearing,
And
so.
we'll have a contract public hearing at a later.
But they're not gonna be able to review the budgets, which is the function of the public hearing is having the information to review. For the public review prior to the public hearing, that's why I think that they were asking for more days for the public to review it.
Got it. Well, we'll hopefully have a very clear cut budget meeting process on the second, and then we'll revisit these, with public hearing at a later date. Are there any other?
Is the budget changing that drastically?
I don't know, but I think if they, that would be a question
Has the
for,
budget changed?
it's not through yet, but that would be, Jerry's telling you that their
We're
question
thinking
was,
about-
could the public have a few more days
Well, yes.
to review at the holiday? If you
Jerry,
don't
does
want
it-
them to.
Does it change significantly normally your budget?
No, we
Well, it goes up, there are a couple of, we only have a couple of variable costs that go up.
Right,
It's not a question of us, it's not an issue with the fire department
No.
creating the budget. We expect that. We usually do it by the end of August, beginning of September. That is not the issue. The issue is, and this is what Jeffrey has said, and this is what I've been saying, will the public have enough time to review what we submit? If we submit it on the 31st, and you want public comment at a meeting on the 2nd, they're not gonna have a lot of time to review that.
I feel confident in our community, we're very engaged, that when we have a public hearing, you know, like something like the library budget. We'll probably, but they technically usually go first, we get through these, you know, it is a numbers game, and it's a numbers game that people are not necessarily in a professional opinion to scrutinize, so a lot of it is just gonna be looking over what the general strokes are.
They don't usually go at all. We've never had a
Can
budget
we
hearing.
please like have like one-on-one conversation?
Well, I don't know.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Can't hear it.
But no one's reviewed their budgets before because they've reviewed the contract, so people are looking at this for the first time. We haven't, the library has normally gone first for the contract public hearings. We've never had a budget public hearing.
Exactly,
So that-
this is an addition to that, and so this is.
That's why I think we should give the people more time to read the budgets. If they're submitted by the 31st. You're gonna put them all on the website on a Sunday or the Memorial Day or the Labor Day holiday. And then Tuesday is a meeting. That's what they're saying.
That's our chance. So like.
What if we move it to the hour before the meeting,
Pardon?
before the September meeting?
Yeah, we could do it, if if we have everybody's commitment on the board that they'll participate in the meetings. Then we would hope that everybody can attend. And that would mean this, the 9th, we could extend it out at,
How about the 4th? Why can't we do Thursday the 4th of September?
we can barely get our town board to show up to all the workshops.
It's not about, this is not about, I'm asking, I don't care. The public is saying that they want to have more time to review the
Well, Jared's
budget.
saying that 'cause the public.
I don't know, I'm sorry, I don't know your name. Are you looking for more
So
time
we're
or?
opening up public comment right now. I'm sorry, we're not. Please, can you please stick to it?
I thought he was asking for more. Go ahead and
No,
have
we didn't
it.
ask for.
No, I didn't say I was asking for public comment, but he was nodding his head, so he wanted more time on though.
I just want to accommodate, the residents as well.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm not
Going
going
on
on.
the field, I just take.
I think we can just do it for the actual town board meeting with it on the 9th. If that represents a good team for everybody, I will let you know. Yeah, but it's the data are here, you know, we love the.
That's why it seems it's a lot.
But it's good, okay, all right, they kind of September 9th.
So the notice will have to be changed.
Yes.
Okay, let's do that. All right, at this time, yeah, sure, go ahead.
Sorry.
That's okay.
As far as public service, as far as public safety goes, I just want to mention to the residents. We've been having a lot of complaints about speeding, especially on River Road, Mill Road, and Devlin Road. So I reached out to the Deputy Sheriff, Eric Chibodi, and he's gonna have a patrol on these roads. So just watch your speed. I spoke to him. He's gonna give warnings. But we're gonna try to bring the speed limit down and, try to resolve, the issues with the residents who are complaining. So I just want to give you a fair warning. Also, John, we have to talk about 9/11 ceremony as well, so let's get that on the calendar. That's all I have to report.
Thank you. At this time, do I have a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of sharing information relating to the current or future investigation and prosecution of a criminal offense which would imperil effective law enforcement if disclosed, as well as confidential legal requests and information will result. Do I have that motion?
Discussion, that last part isn't a reason to go into executive session.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Should I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions?
Those are your.
Thank
Yeah, she.
You guys.
Sure, yeah, you know. It's 8:40. Do I have a motion to return to the executive session?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? The extension is so needed. In light of the report that we've received, we are going to put, well, I'd like to motion that we have an additional um, all in favor? All opposed? On September 2nd, to prepare for our responses to this report. We'll be discussing it as part of the general town board workshop on September 2nd. All responses and suggestions not only by our attorney for the town, but also based on the legal report. At the meeting on September 2nd, workshop these ideas amongst us since the job is and bond videos suggestions in place, and then at the September 9th meeting at present. With that, I want to discuss one of the abstracts that we that I would put before us. So we basically the banners that we have up in town for the veterans all initially, as with the banners on the byways, part of the Greater Grayville Chamber of Commerce. We put those up with ladders in the back of pickup trucks. We had Fred Bosch sending up poles, putting up flags. During Warner and I getting ready to catch Fred Bosch as he put up along 97. And then they at the beginning of putting up the veterans banners. In our discovery through Bondio, we discovered an account that an address change was put in for called the 9/11 Memorial Fund that has about $5,000 all things relative to 9/11 Harris Park. It was explained to us that the banner program was just passed through, like they charge participants $220. It costs $220 to produce, so it was $1 going in, $1 going out. In any way, shape, or form. They still had 5,000. They put up with flags. They produced the flags. They still have $5,000. So flash forward. Over the years, the highway department has taken on the duty of putting up these flags and banners. We were given a bill back in June for $1,200. Basically, they put these banners up, and no one consulted with us on that. I know when that bill came in, the town clerk called the highway department. Sharon, of course, want to celebrate our veterans. We can't have an outside agency or organization telling us what we're paying for and billing the town without us having the oversight. That's not okay. There's never going to be a world where somebody else gets to make financial decisions on our watch. So we basically pushed back to the committee and said, you guys have $5,000 in your, veterans and maintenance of this park. What are the funds for? And we're told they're not going to pay for the lift. So that's where we're at right now.
Did
Um,
they ask the department volunteer to put it up? Did they ask him to rent the lift?
No, they
So
would,
who rented the lift?
the highway department.
And then they solely use it for the veterans banners and then. No, okay, so then. Well, the 9/11 park fund is for that park. So, yeah, they couldn't pay out of that. That's what that park was fundraised for, but why would we? I don't.
That's
What
what
did
we're
they do in the
asking, that's
past?
what I'm.
What did they do in the past?
We had, no,
No.
we never, because we didn't ask the highway to do it, we had
Volunteers.
volunteers. Bob Grimm came with his bucket truck, there was someone else came with another bucket truck. And because you have to consult, nice, they don't let you put on certain poles, so, we never, my understanding was that the highway department volunteered to support, and then why would the veterans group assume that they would be responsible to pay for the lift? I
Is it
guess
your
is the question.
understanding that the town should be paying for the lift that the highway department used to put banners for set outside group?
Well, it's not an outside group, but it's a.
It's an autonomous group, we got.
Right, but it's veteran,
Same, it's managed by the
they
same.
paying their salaries to do it, because if they truly volunteered, then. I don't know, I don't think any, I mean, I think they maybe should have asked before they rented the lift and then expected someone to pay for it, and if they didn't just use it for.
Were they named, was the highway department, did they make the group aware that?
Originally it was $600. And then it doubled. This last time. It doubled, it went from 600 to 1,200.
Yeah.
And I think originally it was donated. And then it was
No
a little bit
longer.
of money, and then it just has keep going up and up. The guys don't really have anything to put up.
Right,
A seat that it wasn't donated, and it was before Joe got here. That. It kind of evolved, and Joe just went with.
right, so I think my question would be. If we're gonna if the town is gonna take the liability of having town employees that are highway employees doing it during their work hours. Then do it, and that's an in-kind donation. I don't think that we should be doing a $1,200 in-kind donation for an outside agency, so I think. There has to be discussion before it occurs about who's not a year later, about who's.
And we're told, we're not paying for it, and if you guys won't cover it, then we just, moving forward, we'll just go back to having volunteers. And so we were trying to come up with a reconciliation where we were saying, okay, you have $5,000, and it's the same group of people. And the memorial and the whole park account already put the mechanism of creating the.
But it's a pass-through, they're not using the funds to buy banners. They're using that as an account to.
The town is responsible for maintenance of Heroes Park, and I think that that's a bigger conversation.
Those funds are for, then if park in the winter. Because we don't wanna have to maintain the stairs. Yeah, it's not a liability, I would want it to.
Oh, because Canfield's been shoveling.
Yeah,
shoveling the
that's the
stairs.
shoveling.
Oh, I mean, we always close it because that stairway that comes off of 55 is stone and having that
But she's
covered.
been maintaining the safety issue.
She took care this past year.
But, you know, I don't wanna get.
I think that the committee who runs the 9/11 park should be considered paying $1,200 because I believe it would be less expensive for them than us back charging them for cutting the lawn and taking care of it.
Okay, so
They should be considered, and if they don't, we'll just, we'll figure it out.
but we have to create a mechanism in general for how to communicate with them, so we don't get stuck with a $1,200 mystery bill.
So who did, but you got Bill.
You just said that our highway department offered to volunteer.
No,
Nobody really did the
the
due
company
diligence.
lives
So say, hey, Joe, do you wanna volunteer to do this, or is this what? you
Yeah, I mean, I think we can say like, we're not gonna offer, I mean, we did in-kind services for the river projects, like we do consistently, the highway department is very good about. Installing historical markers and doing all of the things, so I think we have to have a clear process by which we utilize town resources, which are taxpayer resources, in any of those. If there's a requirement for in-kind services in a grant, then you have to document that you've provided those in-kind services. I mean, I don't think it's
But
not an issue just about this, it's any time we're asking them to do something outside of the maintenance of our highways.
Yeah.
It should be
Having been part of
discussed.
several of those, river access, the, banner projects before that. The plans and progress signs, every time that I've filled out a grant application for those dating back to 2018, I've met with the highway superintendent and said, what can we count on you for services that you're putting forward towards the expenditures of the grant? So those things are predetermined, right? So we say the town's resources, the highway department is gonna put forward, let's say 20 work hours. 20 work hours cost this much money. These are the in-kind that's going towards the grant.
But they're not
This
billed,
was never determined in advance.
But it-
Those are
it-
the things that we need to set up as a
was.
mechanism. It wasn't. though.
no, but it was, if they volunteered to do it and they secured the lift, someone coordinated the rental of the lift, so it was discussed in advance. Right, like, the lift didn't just show up here at the clear blue sky.
The other one. I mean, I don't know how long that.
No, highway would have done it. We
Yes, I
wouldn't.
mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming that.
But we also don't, like, we didn't bill back when we did the Highland Access, we don't bill back for
I have
the.
a question. Is that everybody?
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
It is
Tom,
audition.
go ahead.
Excuse me, please. Was it $600 to rent the lift to put them up and then another $600?
$1,200
It was $1,200.
Just this man.
Just this May.
Oh, wow. You sure that they didn't?
No, and my
Okay.
point in all this is like, if we would have had that $1,200, rental for that day. We also have another grant project in town along 97, and we could have utilized town money and asked, the Chamber of Commerce, for instance, hey, can you split this with that organization or split it with the town? And we would have been more than amenable to spend $600 to get things up properly in time. But like these sort of things have to be predetermined. We can't just be given bills that the taxpayers are responsible for with no oversight.
Agreed. Well, who sent me the committee?
Andy Boyer.
And Brian Hanson is we communicated with Andy Boyer. So I believe that you should communicate with some iteration of Dorian and Andy Boyer. Andy was very helpful today and wonderful with our litter law and had glowing recommendations, so I hope we get that all around response.
I'll have information for you for the workshop.
Thank you. But for now, we're not going to pay the bill and we're gonna seek out a remedy.
Who's the company?
Orally
Lori.
Lori or it's.
Yeah, because they charge you to bring it down here, and then they charge you to rent it, and then they charge you to.
They didn't charge us for shipping because we shipped.
We left it in one
It's up and brought it back. They let us.
So then it's more than $1,200 that we should be paying the highway department.
Here's the.
Well, no, because if they they went and picked it up.
I think they send them up, I tore it down, send them. Usually it's a $200.
Yeah, well.
Okay, so we have a solution and we thought, so if you can report back to us, Tom, that'd be great. For this.
Yes.
Thank you. We also have a resolution that we need to pass for budgetary transfer. The town of Highland at the town board meeting on August 12, 2025, introduced and passed the following resolution. Whereas modifications are required to the 2025 general budget, now therefore be it resolved that the following budgetary transfers be made from the 2025 general budget from A 960 appropriations, A 1620.4 buildings, contractual 22,413.70. A 36.7 to 960 appropriations, A 1010.4 town board contractual 641.26, A 1320.4 auditor contractual $27,840, A 1680.4 data processing contractual 630, A 3310.4 traffic control contractual 906.14, A 3620.4 safety inspection contractual $21,932.70 for total pass resolution.
Discussion.
Yes,
This is just an amendment of the resolution that was passed in July. It's the accounts were inverted, so the from accounts should have been the to account. But there's no. It's not a new budgetary transfer.
Correct.
Based on the correction of the previous one.
correct. So I have a motion.
Make that
Do
motion.
I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? So do I have a motion to approve abstract, highway abstract number 8-2025, claims number 73 through 80 in the amount of $737.49. Do I have that motion?
I will make the motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions?
Same.
So moved. And I just want to clarify for the public as well, we received our CHIPS money, which is roughly $200,000. And so all of our paving, this includes a lot of our substantial paving projects that have been going around, are all billed at this time. So we took money out in our high yield New York class accounts so that it yields on average about 5% a month at this point with this sort of low market. So we were able to obtain the interest money there, so our money's working for us, and then when the bills was due, we were able to pay them. So that's, I just want to explain that that's how those funds work, and they were deposited. General abstract number 8-2025 claims 227 to 263 in the amount of $52,690.97. Do I have that motion?
Make that motion.
Do I have a second?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions?
Same.
So moved. Do I have a motion to pay Eldred Streetlights number 7-2025 and 7 $140.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. Do I have a motion to pay Sullivan 180 grant 2025 claim number 4 in the amount of $1,910?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? So moved. A reminder for our public comment section, it'll be limited to 2 minutes per person after the abstracts. A reminder to please state your name, speak into the microphone, and look into the camera. Is there any public comment? Okay, Mel Carney.
It seems that this president has removed public comment on the agenda from the agenda. And as was pointed out when it was initially removed, if the board is voting on a specific item, the public doesn't have the opportunity to comment on it before a vote is taken. It would have come in handy when you did the amended resolution with the highway file. but also for tonight's public hearing. A legal notice was placed in the Democrat for a public hearing to be held on August 5th on the proposed litter law that carried $500 fine. That meeting was canceled, and at the workshop meeting on that date, in the August 8th Democrat for tonight's meeting advertised that the new law would carry a $1,000 fine. The board had previously voted on a law to carry a $500 fine, and that resolution, to my knowledge, has never been amended. The town website posted the notice of local law number 2 of 2025 with a penalty of $500. Kaiser posted on his Facebook page that the penalty would be $1,000. The notice was not presented to the public in the proper time frame, and given the inconsistency of how the law was advertised, I don't believe a proper vote can be taken.
Are there any other public comments? Yes.
Go ahead, you go first.
No, go ahead, Joseph.
Be careful.
Hi, my name is Joseph Christ. I live at 793 State Route 55. That's never been a secret. Over the last couple of meetings, both here and at planning board, I'm noticing what I find to be a disturbing trend. And that trend is people ask for information. I just feel like every excuse in the book for why you can't have the information. Simple things. Code information. What we went through at the last meeting, we can pat those guys on the back for voting 5-0. Okay? But that was, those people never should have been in front of the board with all of the outstanding violations they have. But we as individuals didn't know that, okay? Until it happened to be brought up during their request. But we wasted a lot of time on that. A lot of people wasted a lot of resources. Now, it did have one useful thing. It highlighted the lack of enforcement. And that's the other thing I want to get to, okay? Caitlin, it's a town law. We did it. We have to clean it up. Okay? I agree with that 100%. Since I've been here, I think we've been here long enough now to get a decent sample size. All I ever hear is excuses for code-related things, about we can't enforce them, why we don't do things, okay? What's the point of having a code if we're not going to do everything we can to make people follow it? Because when we let that stuff slip, then they figure they can let things slip. And that's how projects get started without permits. That's how people are allowed to run Airbnbs regardless of the rules and regulations. Okay? And if we don't step up and do something about that, we're going to get a reputation as a town with an easy mark, And we don't want that. Because a lot of people think that those kinds of activities actually hurt the quality of life. You know, if you don't own an Airbnb, you know, what's driving your assessment up? Other than somebody who doesn't live here, who's operating it as a commercial facility. That's a discussion for another day. But we have to stop this attitude of, if someone asks for information, it must be a problem. Okay, I don't think it's wrong to ask who has a code violation. I don't think it's wrong to ask how rentals do we have in this town. That's basic information. And I don't want to hear the word foil again. Okay, I understand the law. You guys know I worked in business with that, you know, with your part of my business experience. We need the information.
I appreciate it. I appreciate your comments. Thank you.
Somebody pulled the planning board, jam everybody to 3 minutes because they don't want to hear.
Are there any other public comments? Yes.
Good evening, my name is Mike McGuire, I'm a local attorney, I am the town attorney for another town in the county. And I am the former county attorney. Supervisor Pizzolatto, board members, Mr. Olzali, ladies and gentlemen of the public, this board has behaved inappropriately and contrary to state law for much of the past 6 months. This board has taken on the personality of a vigilante rogue mob by creating the illusion of public corruption in the office of the town clerk. The board has, without authority, diminished the responsibility of an elected official who does not report to you. She reports only to the people of Highland. You constructively prevented her from carrying out any of her responsibilities by seizing her computer. The board has allowed libelous information to be disseminated publicly, encouraged public comment on information that out, and the public knew less. You've unlawfully seized my client's work product, enlisted the services of law enforcement to color the investigation with suggest criminality, and significantly impacted the ability of the town government to render services to the people whose tax dollars support this town. Worse than all that, you've done so by weaponizing town government against a public servant with no evidence of wrongdoing. You've commissioned an investigation by appropriating in excess of $54,000 to carry out a witch hunt while targeting an office that a member of this board now seeks. Any vote of that report, your deputy supervisor must recuse herself because she is inexorably conflicted in this matter. Or she must the campaign contribution. We have a median household income of about $60,000 and a poverty rate of 16.42% in this town. And the report, the smoking gun, disclosed that more money was deposited than was taken in. What you found apparently was a philanthropist who deposited more money than was taken in.
Thank you for your comment, Mr. McGuire. Are there any additional public comments? Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? It is now 9.
No, have gone.
Shall we go ahead?
One quick thing, a couple of board meetings ago, we had talked about, if a board member has a question, sending an email to something for us to discuss with the board. Caitlin, I know you sent me an email Saturday, is that something you want to deal with, talk about right now?
Nope, that was a separate matter.
Okay.
I did ask at the last meeting for you to research information on the bid.
On the bid.
The 564 State Route 55, where we bid the project and then we changed the substantial completion date, which would be a material change to the bid.
Okay.
So I asked you about it at the last meeting, you said you were gonna look into it. So I didn't hear anything from you, so I just assumed you hadn't looked into it yet.
I had somebody look into it and I'll email the entire board with the answer to that tomorrow.
Thanks, Robin.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's 9:14. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? So thank you very much. Right.